Recently I've been looking online for someone who I can relate to who doesn't mind showing the house that isn't pristine, the house that is full of children, laughter, screams and mess. And I decided that maybe we should just show our crazy life, the good, the bad and the ugly. So welcome to our crazy life. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Louise Bonasera. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for watching. And I'm a mum of 4, so I have Nathaniel, my eldest, he's 6, and my youngest, Spencer, who is just turned 1. And I have twins, Jude and Luca, who are 5, but they also have autism. So mentally, they're a lot younger. To say life at home is challenging is probably an understatement. And I do try and share, if you watch me if you follow me on Facebook or with friends on Facebook or Instagram, I do share some of the truths, as not all of the truths, of how hard it can be. But yeah, it's really challenging. So that's probably why my house, is a mess, because I don't have much time on my hands. I also run my own business, so I try and do that around the kids as well. And the summer's coming up, so that is daunting. But when it came to them being diagnosed, it was actually a massive relief for me, in a way. It sounds really weird, and at the time I was really happy and really happy. Seems such a weird word when you get an autism diagnosis. Some people go into depression and sadness, but we had dealt with it. Didn't seem like, it seemed like a long time, but it wasn't a long time really, because they got diagnosed when they were 3. They just turned 3, but it was flagged at their 3.5 almost, actually. Yeah, 3.5 almost. But it was flagged at their 2-year check that they didn't tick all the boxes. They weren't meeting the milestones, and they were very delayed in some areas, more than I knew. I kind of knew that they were behind in speech, but because I had Nathaniel and they were my babies, I didn't really think much of it. Then we went to talk about their hearing and the possibility that they could not be able to hear, like glue ear or something. So they went for a hearing test, and that hearing test came back fine. Their attention span wasn't the best, but they managed to get the results, and they said there's absolutely nothing wrong with their hearing. And that, for me, was the first moment where I was like, okay, well, if it's not their hearing, then what is it? But I still didn't have a clue that they could be autistic. Next, we went to have a speech and language assessment with a speech and language therapist. And that was one of the worst meetings I think I've ever had. I literally left feeling like the world's worst mother. She made me feel like it was all my fault, and I know it's not my fault, now anyway. It was literally a few days before my birthday as well, and I literally felt like the world's worst mum. It was such a weird appointment. It makes me laugh just thinking about it. So we went into this tiny room. Bear in mind, obviously there's twins. I took my mum with me because it's quite difficult to do things on your own with twins anyway, let alone twins that have additional needs. And it was this tiny room, and we had the double buggy, and we were all squeezed in, and she had like different kind of like games out and puzzles and stuff, like to be part of this, what is it called? This assessment. And that she also, there was like a fax phone on the floor. So they started picking up this fax phone. I thought, you know, it's on the floor, so it's going to be like a broken one or an old one or something. No, it was a real fax phone. So they started pressing all the numbers and stuff. And then she also had her bag on the floor with her lunch in. And obviously, like, the twins love to eat everything, which most kids do, right? Especially when it comes to someone else's lunch. And it was a chocolate penguin bar they managed to find, and they were pulling all her lunch out all over the floor. So it was an absolute disaster. And at the end of it, she was... Hello, Luca. She was trying to explain that... like communication and speech and language is like a cake, and it's got different layers. So if you haven't got like the bottom layers, then you're not going to be able to expect them to talk. So they didn't have any understanding. So when you said to them, who's mummy, they didn't know who I was, and that's what made me feel really bad and really awful, and other things that she says, well, I can't really remember. But yeah, anyway, so that was the last time we saw her. The next stage was I had to fill in a ton of forms twice, because there's 2 of them, obviously, literally about every aspect of their life from when they were born to up to date at that time, which would have been just over 2. And I got it in as quickly as I could because I wanted to make sure we got seen by the paediatrician. So then that was in beginning of May, and then we got seen in August of that year, and that was really frustrating as well. Their dad came with me because he's a teacher and he was on holiday, so he was able to attend that appointment. And again, she had things out to do tests and stuff, and then it came down to the point of saying that the assessment was inconclusive due to the lack of communication. And I was like, isn't that the whole reason why we're here? Like, for real? And then that was it. Then we didn't have any more interaction from anyone during the NHS until the following May. Didn't have any speech and language. We actually paid for a few sessions privately. And when we finally got what's called a multidisciplinary assessment, it was amazing. And you can say hello, it's fine. Here comes Nathaniel. And they literally said to me, when's the last time you had speech and language? And I was like, last April for the assessment. And they were like, what, 13 months ago? I was like, yeah. And they were like, why haven't you seen anyone 13 months? I was like, it's not really my part to say. You should probably go and ask them. But that's when we got diagnosis. That's when they said that they have autism. And that was the first time for me that I had questioned it in my mind. I had, but no medical profession had gone, it could be autism. So hearing that word, hearing that diagnosis for me was a massive lift of my weight off my shoulders, because it meant I hate putting things in a box, I hate putting people in a box, but it meant I could go and I could find people, I could research, I could find support groups, I could maybe find different ways to help them through their frustration, because the frustration was real of how they weren't able to communicate with me. They couldn't tell me what they were, so they literally just melted down in front of me. And like, meltdowns thrown about so much, like with children who, you know, are neurotypical children, but it's literally like they melt in front of you. They melt down, like literally, like collapse to the floor, completely, I don't know what the word is, just unable to get across how they want. It's frustrating, right? Anyway, when we can't explain how we feel. So yeah, hearing that was a massive relief. So that's just a little bit about us, and maybe I'll do a longer one day about the whole process and stuff. But that is why I'm very glad we got the diagnosis, and it made a massive impact on our life. So thank you for watching. This is going to be the end of my first episode because it's lengthy as it is. And yeah, subscribe if you want to watch more about it, and we'd love you to have come along for the ride of our realness. And now I'm going to go make a juice.